भुटान न्युज सर्भिसबाट प्रस्तुत शैक्षिक भलाकुसारीमा म कार्यक्रम प्रस्तुता भुवन गौतमको नमस्कार। आज मैले सधैँ झैँ एक विशेष व्यक्तिलाई निमन्त्रणा गरेको छु। खासै गरी शैक्षिक क्षेत्रमा हाम्रो समाजमा एकदमै सानो पपुलेसनले मात्रै उच्च शिक्षा हासिल गरेको कुराहरू तथ्याङ्कले देखाएको छ भने केही युवा शक्तिहरूले चाहिँ विशेष गरी उच्च शिक्षामा विश्वमा नाम चलेका विश्वविद्यालयहरूमा गइरहेको कुराहरू हामी देखि पनि रहेका छौँ। र त्यसैका सिलसिलामा मैले आज हेम रिजालजीलाई हाम्रो कार्यक्रममा निमन्त्रणा गरेको छु। जीको जन्म भुटानमा भएको थियो। बाल्यकालमा देश छोडेर आएर उहाँले कक्षा 10 सम्म वहीँ पढ्नुभयो। त्यस पछाडि अहिलेसम्म संयुक्त राज्य अमेरिकामा अन्डर ग्रेड सकेर ग्रेड प्रोग्राममा हार्वर्ड युनिभर्सिटीमा भर्खरै प्रोग्राम सुरु गर्नुभएको छ। यसैको सेरोफेरोमा रहेर आज हामी हेमजीसँग कुरा गर्नेछौँ र लाग्छ कि हेमजीको जुन सक्सेस स्टोरी छ, यो सक्सेस स्टोरीले हाम्रो भुटानी युवा पिँढीहरूमा पनि एउटा राम्रो प्रकारको उहाँहरूलाई इन्स्पायर गर्छ भन्ने हेतुले हामीले उहाँलाई निमन्त्रणा गरेको छौँ। र समयको लागि तपाईँलाई धेरै धन्यवाद हेमजी। कार्यक्रममा स्वागत छ।
हजुर, नमस्ते।
Hemji, can you briefly describe what was your childhood experience like in the refugee camp in Nepal?
I mean, it's not different from any other refugee resident, really. I mean, it's a normal refugee life where you kind of wake up one day and then, okay, well, this is home. This is what it is. You don't really realize where you are, what you're doing, what future implications there are, possibilities. You don't think about those things. It's just very, there's a difference where तपाईँ अब भुटानबाट आउनु भएको र भुटानको सबै थाहा छ, कसरी माइमा बस्नु भयो, बस्नु भएन, दुःख कति गर्नुभयो त्यो थाहा छ भने तपाईँलाई अलिक अर्कै हुन्थ्यो होला, reminiscence, but also just looking forward to the future, whatnot. तर अब मलाई भनेको त like that's all I know, really. I mean, that's my first memory, really. I feel like my memories are young memories that clearly थाहा छैन भन्नाले I don't know why. I think about that a lot, where I feel like I just kind of started, my memories here, class 2, 3, because he completes up PP1 पढेको भनेको चाहिँ I don't know why. I think about this a lot. पुरै flimsy, अलिकति आएको जस्तो मात्रै feel हुन्छ. So it's just a very normal upbringing where all you really know is the refugee life, right? Like अरू केही नि आउँदैन. So it doesn't really stand out any at all.
कक्षा 10 सम्म त्यही पढ्नुभयो?
हजुर.
त्यस पछाडि अमेरिका आउनुभयो. अमेरिका आइसकिसकेपछि तपाईँले अन्डर ग्रेड गर्नुभयो र केही समय तपाईँले भलन्टियर गर्नुभयो. अनि त्यस पछाडि अहिले तपाईँ चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ हार्वर्ड युनिभर्सिटीमा मास्टर्स प्रोग्राममा पढ्दै हुनुहुन्छ. Why did you pick Harvard first?
Yeah, really interesting. Now, if I told you that that's always what I've always wanted to do, I would be lying. Any हाम्रो conception चाहिँ के छ भने सानैमा dream यो doctor भन्ने, I worked hard. That's just foolish. At least I don't think about it like that. It's just, I mean, I kind of in many ways got lucky, and I was privileged that I was able to kind of explore all these other that I wanted to do, or just kind of Harvard I mean, after I graduated in 2015 undergrad, to be frank, like I had no idea what I wanted to do. Like if I told you that, like I said, I told you I want to, go to medicine, or I don't know, right? Like if I didn't know. And I think that's something that to keep in mind. A lot of times, success stories, stories, we tend to think of them as like abnormal, but not really. I mean, I didn't know about this until I actually applied in December of 2019. Harvard भन्ने कुरोमा भन्दा चाहिँ मैले अन्डरग्रेड गरेँ 2015 मा सकेर म यहाँ आयोवा मुभ भएँ सियाटलबाट where my parents were. And then त्यो पछाडि यहाँनिर पब्लिक स्कुलमा 6-7 महिना जति अमेरिकोर मा भलन्टियर जस्तै काम गरेँ. त्यहाँबाट चाहिँ I got this opportunity to work for Teach for America. It's just a national organization there, pretty much in every state except for a few. And then they apply even they apply I didn't really know if I wanted to go or if I would even get in because it's really competitive. They more than competitive, they're very selective to select the Harry. They want to make sure that they bring in the right people. So so at that point in my life, I was just like not really sure what I wanted to do. So getting a high school teaching job just felt really rewarding in many ways, but not the least of which is was that I kind of wanted to go into public sector, um, and it would be something that would actually bring an impact. So 4 वर्ष जति गरेपछि चाहिँ कस्तो feel आयो भने I knew I wanted to be in public sector. I knew that I didn't want to be in private sector at all. And that's not to say anything bad about the public sector. It's just what I learned living in on the reservation in South Dakota, where I was surrounded with Native Americans, where I taught. It's just, one of the poorest counties in the entire 2010 census in Hawaii. So it kind of inspired me to kind of go into public sector. So looking at all the options that I have available after TFA 2 वर्ष गरेँ त्यहाँबाट extend गरेँ मैले additional 2 year बसेँ त्यही tribal college पनि पढाएँ. So I was at a point in some of my friends were going back to graduate school, law school, or public policy, whatnot. And then मैले चाहिँ के observe गरेँ नि as a teacher, I was able to do a lot of good things for that community, for my students. But I don't hold the power, right? Like there are so many decisions that are being made on behalf of the students that teachers don't get any inputs in, that administrations don't get any inputs in with, people in charge, the state level, county level, federal level that bring in not. I felt like maybe I would be able to make a more of a difference in policy, etc. And then if you really want to go into policy, why not really go into some of the best schools? And my options, I just applied to so many schools, total of 5. And I really wanted to go into where data analytics or public policy go merge, where you can use data and math and statistics, public policy challenges. I applied to some schools, University of Chicago, Duke, Georgetown, and some of these. Carnegie Mellon, there was this great in data science and public policy, and then Harvard was just one of them that I applied to. So I mean, when they came calling, I just couldn't refuse at all. They because it's not I always wanted to go to Harvard and things like that.
Sure. So the applicants to Harvard Kennedy School Masters in Public Policy program are very rarely admitted without at least some professional work experience, right? So to get there, you have to be in the top 2% of the world. That's what I found. It's very low, right?
Wow. Okay.
Yet you are able to.
I'm definitely not top 2%. So.
But congratulations, hey, you made it there. And what was the overall application process?
Yeah, it is really competitive. Obviously, everyone knows that. It's also very rigorous application material and all that, and super long. The writing assignments, the letter recommendations have to be near perfect. People that know you really well from professional, but as well as academics, if you're able to find someone academic letter. Yeah, so. Competitive हुनुको कारण चाहिँ के पनि हो नि their deadline अलिक अगाडि नै close हुन्छ normal public policy schools को भन्दा I mean December 3rd if I remember correctly when it was due. So सबै कुरो मैले I really had to get all of those things in by December when the other ones were due in January and after, right? So अलिक अगाडि नै हुन्छ. You have to have 3 letter recommendations from people that know you. really good GRE score, really good GPA, obviously. But really, more than all of that, they care about two things, right? I mean, they obviously care that you're able to handle their course load, and GRE and GPA are two of those indicators. But त्योभन्दा पनि अर्को चाहिँ के हेर्दो रहेछ भने you have to have a purpose, right? Like किन चाहिँ Harvard? Why do you want to really go there? So yeah, so they really look at your story, what brings you to them, and then what do you want to do? Second कुरो चाहिँ के भने public sector, they have to kind of have a demonstrated हुन्छ नि history of your public service. So if you've done public service in the past, that's something that they really care about. They rarely bring anyone that spent 20 years in the private sector and all of a sudden they want to go to Harvard, right? They do, but they have to have a compelling story as to why they want to make that switch from I don't know, a bank executive to the Kennedy School and the public sector. So for me, I was able to craft that story where I was able to use my own personal upbringing, my public service on the native reservation, but 4 years of teaching in some of the poorest counties in the world, in the country. It's not a joke, right? And growing up in a refugee camp, I'm trying to kind of connect those things together. So I had a really compelling story in that. And I genuinely really wanted to go into public service, right? So I wasn't like, hey, okay, well, I guess I want to go there. I had demonstrated history of public service in the AmeriCorps, 2 years of TFA, and then 4 years of teaching in high school and college. So yeah, I think that's what they look for, and I had a very complete package, right? Including a letter of recommendations from people who know me for 3-4 years in my hands dirty and doing the dirty work. Really difficult work. I mean, teaching everywhere is really difficult, but especially teaching in poor neighborhoods, poor schools, underfunded schools is incredibly difficult. So I had all of those things going for me, but obviously even then, you have like you said, you have a really low percentage of chance of getting in, and lucky for me, stars aligned, and here I am, which is great.
Yeah. So economists believe that America's most prestigious universities are great engine of upward mobility. उदाहरणको लागि Obama became the president of the United States. Tshering Tobge came to Harvard to help tackle Bhutan's most difficult public policy challenges, and then later he became the Prime Minister of Bhutan. Dr. D.N.S. Dhakal is still in the movement for democracy. He was also there at Harvard Kennedy School in 1988. What are some of the public challenges or public policy challenges you would like to change with this degree from this prestigious university?
Oh, I mean, that's yeah, I don't know. I went into I'm going into Harvard knowing that I want to kind of dedicate my life to public service, but if I say I want to do this or that, things might not work out. But I mean, I think about a whole range of issues that I am happy to and willing to go into, including I think some of the ones that I'm more passionate about: education by Yalo, just the nature of how we got our education in the refugee camp and how we had struggles once we got here as well. So education is really, especially education either in underdeveloped or developing world, or even in the US, where अहिले तपाईँ हेर्नुभयो भने United Statesमा भनेको people, students growing up in poor neighborhoods are determined to, just by fate of where they were born, by the wealth of their zip code, right? Poor school something, poor neighborhood to see poor colleges something, poor colleges go to see, generally don't make a lot of income, and it's a cycle of poverty, right? So education would be a really, really interesting thing to go into. I've always been passionate about human rights. So I don't know if I mean, I don't know what kind of opportunities lie ahead for me. So human rights would be a really incredible thing to do as well. If not in the US, abroad. The other thing more, अहिले latest भनेको चाहिँ racial issues in the United States, Black Lives Matter movement, where you know, I mean, simple thing from giving birth to a child. If you're black, you have a higher mortality rate versus if you're white. If you're black, you have higher chance of dying with police encounter than if you're white. And the same thing holds for Native Americans as well. So racial tension here in the United States is incredibly important thing to do. I don't know that, but there is, you know, if you want to go into public sector, special public policy, there's like you know, an uncountable number of things that you can possibly go into. I didn't come to goodness. Like, you know, obviously you have to see, you know, where things go. Yeah.
So obviously, as you might have met other high-level dignitaries, or you know, people like who are in their, some are ministers, or you know, those kind of people you might meet in your classroom as your classmates. Do you feel pressure at all to have conversation with them?
Yeah, no,
What's your vision and vision of your life?
it's absolutely, it's mind blowing because one of my professors is someone that negotiated, Wonder Sherman, who negotiated the Iran deal. I don't know if you remember Iran deal in 2014-15 that Obama administration really pursued. And she was a lead negotiator, right? And she's my professor. So, and then I have, you know, I have a someone that actually he ended up deferring another year with COVID, but Bhutanko former finance minister Lake Dorji, right? He got admitted to the MPA ID program as well. I haven't met them yet, but there is someone that is a speechwriter, Kere, for the Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau. So it's incredible because, and a lot of times that actually imposter syndrome bans. I mean, maybe I don't belong here. Maybe it's not the right place for me. Maybe, you know, I just got lucky. They made a mistake. It's just back in the, and it's just not for me, right? There's so many people, candidates that feel the same way, where they feel like they don't belong. Especially if you look at the history of elite schools, they're known to bring in people that have donated a lot, and Harvard has this, you know, stigma, and but also this dark history of bringing in people that donate to them, bringing in people that are from, you know, wealthier neighborhoods more than from poor neighborhoods, things like that. There's always, and you're always being against people that have had privileges in their lives that I didn't have, right? But you do have to keep in mind, right? You know, they looked at you holistically, looking at you, you know, all the scores that you submitted, a lot of recommendations, the promise, right, that you have. So in that sense, you know, sometimes what helps me is like, like, look, I don't care what others, you know, brought in. हुन्छ नि, के कस्तो ब्याकग्राउन्डबाट आयो, कति धनी छ, कस्तो, you know, स्कुल गयो, parents' connections के छ. Sometimes it's really important to kind of insulate yourself from all of that and just be like, look, we're taking the same exact class, we're taking the exact same exam. You know, we're getting the same instruction from the exact same professor. So a lot of times I try to, you know, distance myself from that. But you always do feel like an imposter. Always do feel like you don't belong there. And that's always, it's not just me, right? Like a lot of minority candidates do that, especially people coming from you know, poor background, especially people that don't have anyone in the family to look into, right? My middle family, they don't have any education, right? They don't even speak English, and so in that sense, it's always a challenge, and it's, you know, I'm not the first one.
धनी मानीहरू आउँछन्, खानदानीहरू आउँछन् भन्ने कुराहरू निक्लियो। तपाईले कोही बेला हिन त बोध भएको फिल पनि गर्ने कुराहरू गर्नुभयो। त्यहाँको पढाइ त बहुतै महँगो छ जस्तो लागेको छ। कसरी म्यानेज गर्नु यो सबै पैसा तिर्नको लागि पढिसकेपछि?
हजुर, I mean, अघि तपाईले सोधिहाल्नु भयो हार्वर्ड किन अथवा कसरी भन्ने कुरो. Other big reason अघि मैले left out गरेँ is also finances, right? Because some of these other schools that I was getting into, including Chicago and Duke and Carnegie Mellon, they came with really good generous offers, but they were no close to what Harvard offered, right? Because but I liked it. Honestly, I wouldn't get into Harvard. And then it was also like Harvard बड़ै चाहिँ मैले last मा चाहिँ Harvard बड़ै notification पाएँ. And then I was pretty like almost all decided in on Chicago, University of Chicago. मा राम्रो computer analysis and public policy one is there's kind of like data analytics, statistics and computer science to public policy merge intersection the programs. It's a really competitive program too. And when I got in, I was super surprised. And actually, मेरो साथी मसँगै 3 वर्ष पढाउने साथी त्यही जान्थ्यो र उसले encourage गरेर मैले apply गरेको थिएँ. And they offered me like really good financial package. About a month later, Harvard just offered me a fellowship, public service fellowship, as basically covers all of my tuition, my health insurance, my books and fees, and all that. All I really have to do is food and rent. Even COVID, so I don't have to. Luckily for me, I got really lucky. I don't have to worry about all of that because there was tuition 52,000, I think. I didn't have to even look at that because I got really lucky and I got this fellowship. And yeah, in that sense, I mean that was, you know, you go to Harvard and incur debt. It's only 100,000. Well, I have a fellowship in pound one. The tuition per year 52,000 plus मेरो एउटा rent January ka लागि sign गरेको छु, like 2,200 something for a 1-bedroom house. So like I was looking at 135 something dollars, 135,000 dollars in debt per year. But luckily, all I have to really worry about is my rent and my food and personal expenses. So tuition is all covered. Health insurance is all covered.
So great. So Hemzi, let's talk about your involvement with the community volunteering. Obviously, you have done a lot, and I would like to ask some of the questions. मेरो प्रश्न यस प्रकार छ. Do you want to share your most rewarding volunteer experience with the Bhutanese community?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's.
You can start talking about your camp experience too. If you have ever done any volunteering.
No, मैले campमा भनेको I wasn't involved at all. I was a shy kid, just didn't do anything. Just focused on my own school. Guitar खेल्न र soccer खेल्न. That's all I did. I mean, Siama, maybe I did something good. Bhutan, BCRC भन्ने थियो हाम्रो organization. So I was there. I remember correctly. So I worked there for a year or so. And then but I'm isolated at Bhutan. I'm sorry, Washington. I'm north side, but south side. So I didn't do anything other than that. Yeah, funny. I mean, like 4 years completely disappeared by him. So I was just like completely involved in there. So if you consider volunteering purely in terms of witness organizations, then मैले खासै त्यस्तो धेरै गरेको छैन. हामी भुटान सर्भिसमा म पहिलेदेखि इन्भल्भ छु भएको अहिले पनि गर्छु. But if you consider other volunteer or public service work, I mean, I've not worked in private sector other than initially अमेरिका आउने बित्तिकै भनेको म एउटा लप्राडो भन्ने no sorry Charlie भन्नेमा काम गर्थेँ, package minimum job. पैसाका लागि purely because you had to need money. तर अब public service मा हेर्नुहुन्छ भने चाहिँ I've not worked in private sector at all, right? Like in 12 years of being here.
तपाईले BNS को volunteer को कुरा गर्नुभयो. Why did you decide to volunteer with BNS in particular?
Yeah, I mean, मलाई खासै लेख्न आउँदो रहेछ अथवा मात्रै थाहा थिएन. थाहा भएको over the last 7, 8, 10 years only हो. अनि it's something that I do all the time, right? Writing and reflecting and writing weird stuff. त्यो भएर चाहिँ so it's something that kind of aligns with what I already. It's not a big ठुलो हुन्छ नि ठुलो workload पनि होइन एक त अर्को कुरो मैले like I don't know where I read it. I read a lot, but I don't know where I read it. के पनि देखेको थिएँ हैन you need to if you want to be happy. I read somewhere. If you want to be happy, you need to build a community of people, right? Communities basically, and then those communities could be like one uh, with one other person, right? Like तपाईँ र म maybe you know in the future would get really close and तपाईँ र ममा एउटा community छ हैन त्यसरी नै अब मैले Native American communities मा गएर बसेँ I have like all sorts of things there and just a complete बन्डालै छ त्यहाँ अब यहाँ छ जस्तै अब मेरो क्याम्पका साथीहरूसँग छ so there's so many communities with cousins and friends and whatnot त्यस्तै नै अब Bhutanese tourists kind of out of हुन्छ नि त्यत्तिकै एउटा community जस्तो feel भयो क्या Bhutanese service पनि in a way that I kind of wrote for them and then to me to continue to stay involved and I just kind of I like it but also it's important that you kind of give back किनभने एउटा मेरै आफ्नै self criticism भनेको like I you know I did teach America and taught you know children high schoolers and I did AmeriCorps I taught college level math and things like that so I kind of involved in other communities didn't really affect my own people so in that sense like after people like give back गर्नु भनेको पनि एउटा I don't know it's just like satisfaction so it's nothing more than you know getting to know other people more and sharing their stories right like so it gives me an opportunity to read their stories and reach out to our people
आदरणीय दर्शकवृन्द अहिले हामी हेम रिजालजीसँग गफ गर्दैछौँ उहाँ मास्टर्स इन पब्लिक पोलिसी हार्वर्ड युनिभर्सिटीमा अध्ययनरत हुनुहुन्छ र उहाँका सक्सेस स्टोरीहरूलाई चाहिँ हामीले अहिले सेयर गरिरहेका छौँ र हेमजी अब नेक्स्ट चाहिँ लेट्स टक अबाउट द फ्युचर प्रश्न यस्तो छ वेयर डु यु वान्ट टु सी योरसेल्फ इन 5 years from now
yeah tough किनभने I feel like sometimes yeah, my friends say this too actually at HKS. There's so many opportunities, right? There's so many things that you do, and sometimes it's just really difficult to see yourself in one place. If you really want to talk about like what I always wanted to do growing up and whatnot, I did see myself kind of going into international humanitarian rescue missions or organizations, things like that. So don't be surprised if I go into that and I don't know work abroad or whatnot. I wouldn't be surprised if I went into diplomacy or public diplomacy work. त्यो पनि मलाई passionate लाग्छ. If I stay in the US in terms of what I will do, probably go into policy work, state level or county level. I don't know, national. I don't know. So just to come my involved. I mean, I don't know, policy area. I mean, obviously policy school advocacy. Just like else. I do have a little bit of a passion for teaching as well. I did it for 4 years, like I said, in a high school level and college level. So I would kind of like to continue kind of teaching, especially college level, maybe adjunct or something. So that would be really interesting as well. I really don't know, or I don't know, maybe nothing, right? Like I really don't know. But I mean, there are possibilities.
राजनीति गर्ने कतिको सम्भावना छ
Not interested in terms of like myself, but like Costa I could support people because I've already been involved here in Iowa in terms of through Black Lives Matter movement, like state legislatures and relationships पढाउने अथवा just उनीहरूलाई pressure लाउने lobby गर्ने यस्ता कुरा त natural मलाई मजै लाग्छ but natural myself probably not just yeah it just feels like a lot of scrutiny and a lot of you just need to have a very thick skin and I don't know if I have that so yeah
So Hemzi, what can other youths in our community learn from your experience? You have been sharing a lot, but in particular, is there anything?
Uh, I don't want to, I'm not in a position to advise anyone, lecture or anything like that. Kids, one. So, if you are in a position where I was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, where you're graduating from college and have absolutely no idea what you want to do, I think it's really important to pick up what is. मैले दुईटा judgment गर्ने त्यतिखेर एउटा चाहिँ if I go into this like teacher camp जान खोज्दाखेरि will I actually make some difference, right? Positive difference in someone's lives? And that the answer was an absolute yes, right? So that really did help because public service garदाखेरि I made a difference in the lives of so many students that I encountered. So के चाहिँ भन्छु भने अब especially recent undergrad सकेको अथवा कलेज भर्खर पढ्दै गरेको भाइ बहिनीहरूलाई चाहिँ it's absolutely okay to not have that clear path to where you want to go because I mean if you talk to my friends in Seattle and whatnot anywhere if I told them if you ask them they would be surprised that I ever mentioned what I wanted to do where I'm here now or like I didn't have this vision so in that sense pick something that you maybe are able to use to make a difference in someone's lives, right? And then if stars align, that might be a stepping stone to wherever you want to go. And it's absolutely okay to not know what you want to do, because a lot of times I think I'm custom pressure actually. I don't know, right? Like अलिकति यसले त ध्यान दिएर पढ्छ है यस्तो गर्छ है भन्न अलिक प्रेसर राखिहाल्छौँ एक्सपेक्टेसन्स हाई राखिहाल्छौँ and maybe that could be something for a little bit older generations like parents and whatnot too let them explore so many things don't put any price on them or any don't give them too much pressure obviously guide them and challenge them but a lot of times you just absolutely don't know what you want to do and that's completely fine I didn't even until this summer, I didn't really know because of COVID and whatnot. I really wanted to commit and all that, right? So it's totally fine. Sometimes things just don't work out.
So lastly, Hemzi, मैले तपाईँलाई सोध्न भुलेका र तपाईँलाई केही भन्नु लागेका केही कुराहरू छन् भने before we wrap up this interview, I would like to give an opportunity.
I mean, thankful your मेरो story share गर्न पाएँ. Hopefully people will look at this as like I'm not being bossy or lecturing or anything like that, and more of like genuine story to share. One thing that I do want to add, के चाहिँ भन्छु भने I think if हुन्छ नि अब कलेज जानुपर्छ भन्ने पनि खासै चाहिँ छैन I do want to stress this. I don't want to tell people like they have to get a graduate degree whatnot. Do what you're passionate about. I know people that just take photographies and photo tegaro they're just incredibly happy at what they do, right? Some music production malayas and when they just work and raise kids and they're just happy. So I think when we especially in like a developing community like ours in the United States, I think your expectations is doctor was engineer was your host the host I don't know sometimes सबैलाई वर्कआउट गर्दैन हैन कलेज जानै पर्छ पढ्नै पर्छ भन्ने हैन so I mean there is that maybe need to go because nobody did in your family and it's important to explore अर्को कुरो भनेको चाहिँ के पनि realize गर्नुपर्छ भने a lot of times success stories like mine I was privileged in that like मेरो दाजु दिदीहरुले काम गरिदिनु भयो हैन so I had all the freedom in the world to kind of explore whatever I wanted to explore and all that. So I do have to realize that thing as well and be mindful. सबैको फ्यामिलीमा त्यस्तो अवसर पाउँदैन हैन and a lot of times it also depends on where you are कुन स्टेटमा हुनुहुन्छ for example Washington luckily I ended up in Washington. If I was in Missouri or somewhere else, right, I wouldn't have gotten as generous financial aid because a lot of times financial aid when I go state determined but a lot of times it's luck, not necessarily you work hard always work hard or you're incredible genius or whatnot. So you have to keep that in mind as well. कहाँ हुनुहुन्छ, कस्तो अवस्था छ, कतिको फ्रेन्ड्स काम गर्नुहुन्न, काम गर्न करै लाग्छ होइन. So they kind of have to either defer their dreams altogether, college जाने भन्ने. They're just incredibly hardworking and incredibly talented. Just don't have that opportunity, right? त्यो पनि हुन्छ. So you do have to kind of keep that in mind as well. So I do want to say, you know, सबैले कलेजै जानुपर्छ, गर्नैपर्छ भन्ने पनि होइन. If you do get those opportunities, do explore at least, right? And then see where things go. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, you know. There's nothing to lose. So nothing to lose mentality is sometimes really, really important. Yeah.
ह्याम्जे, तपाईँको समयको लागि धेरै धेरै धन्यवाद र आजको यस अन्तर्वार्तालाई हामी यहीँ विसर्जन गर्नेछौँ. हवस् त दर्शकवृन्द, फेरि अर्को इन्टरभ्यू लिएर आउने बाचाका साथ अहिलेको इन्टरभ्यूलाई म यहीँ विसर्जन गर्न चाहन्छु. हवस् त, तपाईँहरूको दिन शुभ रहोस्. नमस्ते.